Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny, and we're here reacting to what we've just seen from Brisbane, Australia, as Liam Paro has survived a couple of scares in a very entertaining fight to prevail over David PAPOT, the previously unbeaten Frenchman, in an IBF title eliminator. Of course, it's Paro's debut at welterweight this one. And Danny, yeah, we were just saying there, a lot better fight than we were expecting, than a lot of people were expecting. What's your thoughts on that fight and the scorecards overall?
Yeah, a lot better fight than we were expecting, and I would wager a lot tougher fight than Liam Paro was expecting. A worthy winner in the end. I thought the scorecards were okay, to be honest. I think 8-4, something like that, 9-3 is probably fair enough. I think Papo had big moments in the fight, particularly at the end of the fourth round when he hurt Paro badly, caused that huge swell and damage to the eye, which you were out at that stage with so long left in the fight, could potentially cause an early conclusion. But Paro, to his credit, like we've seen, numerous times in the past, he dug in. He's a tough man. He's a game man. And as we said, well, as you said before we started the call, down the stretch, Papo just stopped throwing for a few rounds. I think it was around 8, 9, 10, and the fight got away from him there. Rallied back quite well, particularly in the last round, had Paro hurt again, or was it the 11th round? And yeah, had Paro sort of clinging on for a bit. I think even in victory, there are some causes for concern there for Liam Paro. He looked pretty small in there. His punches didn't deter Papo much. Papo's obviously a big welterweight, fought as high as middleweight before, but Paro wasn't a particularly 140, big 140, and I sort of worry about the physical aspect of him up at welterweight. But a good win, an eliminator for the IBF world title. So there'll be a big fight to follow for sure, but definitely some cause for concern if you're Liam Paro too.
Yeah, absolutely. A tougher fight than Paro was expecting, as you said, definitely. But yeah, very entertaining. That fourth round, if there was longer in that fourth round, I think Papo could have got him out of there. He's lucky that it was right at the end of the round. Paro badly hurt. The eye just came up straight away, didn't it? It just ballooned straight away. And yeah, how he dug in with that gruesome injury for the rest of the fight, I don't know. It was very bad. And if it's that bad now, imagine how bad it's going to look later on today or tomorrow. It's horrendous. But yeah, credit to Papo. As you said, we were chatting on WhatsApp and saying, from what we'd seen of David Papo, he looked a decent fighter, very kind of hands down, decent boxer. But we didn't expect the power and that power and how he hurt Liam Paro, with one shot, the one shot that kind of damaged the eye and had him on his bike. But yeah, excellent performance. That round 8 to 10 stretch kind of he feel he left a bit behind there, David Papo, I think. But credit to Paro, he dug in, got the job done, and as you say, I can't really have complaints about the scorecards. I think that sort of range, 116, 112 is kind of a good range. You can't have much arguments. But yeah, it's an interesting point you made there just before we get on to kind of what's next for Paro. Because I was thinking exactly what you were saying there during that fight, and is Paro going to struggle at 147? As you say, he wasn't a huge kind of 140, and now he's getting badly hurt a couple of times in that fight by a non-puncher at 147. Would that be a concern for you going forward, a big concern? Like, could you see a world where he drops back down to 140?
Maybe, although when fighters go up, they sort of rarely come down. I think you look at the world champions at 147, even so you look at Lewis Crocker, who I guess him and Rolly Romero would be regarded as the weaker of the two champions. I think he'd just be too big for Liam Paro. I think Brian Norman Jr. is a really bad fight for him, heavy hand, but if he was landing the shots, David Papo was landing, the fight would be over and over fairly abruptly. I would say Rolly Romero, I think, is a winnable fight for Liam Paro, but that's not going to happen, is it? Like, there's talk of Rolly fighting Manny Pacquiao and all these big names, so he's not going to get a shot at Liam Paro. So you just wonder what the plan is. It will have to be try and force a mandatory, and even though I'd favour the likes of Lewis Crocker to potentially beat Liam Paro. It's not a fight they're going to be dying for. It's not a massive fight when you consider some of the alternative names in and around that division. So be interesting to see what the plan is. I'd be happy to be proven wrong. I think Liam Paro's a very good fighter, a very tough man, and he's got a lot of his best wins on the road, so you have to commend him for that. But I think you'll struggle that way. I do.
Do you think the Lewis Crocker fight will be next? Of course, this was an eliminator for the IBF title. Do you think that fight will happen next, kind of realistically?
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens next with Lewis Crocker. I'll just leave it at that. We'll speak a bit off air.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, I like Lane Paro. I think, he's a decent boxer and he can punch a bit. Always seems to be in entertaining fights, but as you say, I think he will be a bit overmatched at 147, especially as you say, if he ends up in the ring with the likes of a Brian Norman Jr., who was landing those shots, it's going to be a very bad night for Paro, in my opinion. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Just quickly before I let you go. I'm not sure if you heard earlier on the broadcast, Paro's promoter was talking, and he seemed very eager to, when he was asked what's next, he seemed very eager to kind of talk up a Manny Pacquiao fight, to get Manny Pacquiao back to Australia for Liam Paro if he was to come through this, and he has. What's your thoughts on that? Would you like to see a Paro Pacquiao fight, and would Paro beat him, or would Pacquiao get it done there?
Wasn't expecting that one. I'm sure Manny's not in a mad rush to get himself back down to Australia to get robbed again. Who would I favour in that? Yeah, probably Paro. I think. I like Barrios was so poor against Pacquiao. I think the Paro's shortcomings at 147 wouldn't really be highlighted against Pacquiao. He's not a big welterweight, and geez, at whatever age he is, I'd favour Paro in that. But fair play to the promoter banging the drum for that, shoot for the stars and all that. But I think it's going to be a few levels below that in terms of profile.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. I thought it was very interesting with how eager he was for that. That was the name at the front of his mind. He also dropped Ryan Garcia in there, but Manny Pacquiao was the name that he seemed to be really clamoring for. But it's going to be interesting to see what's next. That was myself and Danny just reacting to what we've seen from Brisbane, Australia, as Liam Paro has defeated David Papo in a very grueling fight by unanimous decision. An IBF title eliminator, of course, Lewis Crocker, the champion there. So could be a big fight, big world title fight on the line for Liam Paro next in Belfast. Who knows? But yeah, let us know what you think. What did you make of that fight? How did you have it scored? And of course, what's next for Paro? Do you think he can become a world champion at 147? Do you think he can beat Manny Pacquiao? Let us know what you think in the comments. Get involved. And as always, don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not doing so already at ESBR Boxing, and follow us on all social media. Danny, it was a pleasure. Take care.
Thanks, mate.